I'm your host, Annie Bowles, and this is News du Jour. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the News du Jour, a calmer space to consume the news. So today was the first day that my son went back to daycare after being sick, and I swear to God, it was like the angels were singing. My body is so tired from wrangling a sick child, and I'm so behind on everything. And if you're someone that I owe something to, an email or otherwise, just know it's coming. I'm playing catch up in the most major way this week, so I appreciate your patience. And with that, let's go ahead and get into the news. So first up, as promised, I'm giving you guys a little Met Gala recap. So today, I wanted to kick off with a little recap of the Met Gala. The first thing you should know is that the theme was Karl Lagerfeld. Karl, for those who don't know, was a fashion icon who passed away in February 2019 at the age of 86. He worked for several different fashion houses before landing at Chanel in 1983. He worked there until eventually he rose to the role of creative director, the top role, and he served in that position until his death. The last show he designed was performed after his death, and the models could be seen crying on the runway. He was known for his tan, his white ponytail, big sunglasses, and crisp suits. His time at Chanel was obviously spent honoring Coco with tweed, roses, pearls, women's suiting, big bows, and a color palette of mostly black, white, creams, rose pinks, and pops of red here and there. And the red carpet last night was not much different. Many of the attendees had worn his clothes and had been styled by Karl themselves. It's also important to note that Karl had a beloved cat named Choupette, who was a fluffy white cat with sky blue eyes. And the reason that this is important is because two different celebrities chose to honor him by, emulating his pet. Doja Cat and Jared Leto both transformed themselves into his cat for the Met Gala for their looks. Doja chose to basically use some type of prosthetic on her face to make it more cat-like, almost sort of like the Who's in Whoville, where her nose kind of came upward and it was clear she was meant to be a cat with the ears. It was crazy. Whereas Jared Leto, he created almost like a mascot costume version of Choupette where, no one even knew who was inside of this costume when they first arrived onto the red carpet. So that was super fun and super Jared. My favorite looks were probably Emily Ratajkowski, Gigi Hadid, Sydney Sweeney, and Mindy Kaling. But I also really enjoyed Anne Hathaway, Bad Bunny, Karlie Kloss, as well as Kate and Leela Moss. I really loved Leela's dress, actually. I put that in the love category. I felt that these people really understood the theme and looked absolutely fire at the same time. And that's the balance you have to strike at the Met Gala. For our next story, I do have to issue a content warning here. Sexual assault of a minor and murder are both discussed in this story. So if you're uncomfortable there, go ahead and skip ahead. 7 people were found dead in Oklahoma. So yesterday, during nap time, my phone blared with a double Amber Alert. Brittany Brewer, age 16, and Ivy Webster, age 14. I immediately opened my computer to get a look at these girls' faces and try to memorize them, as I always do with Amber Alerts. but my stomach sank later in the day when I saw the headlines. These two sweet girls were found dead among 5 other bodies out on a property in Okmulgee, Oklahoma, which is about an hour south of Tulsa, for those who aren't from here. The man they had suspected to have been with was a known sex offender. He had been convicted of rape back in 2003 and released from prison in 2020. He was set to go to trial on Monday for charges of soliciting sex from a minor as well as possession of child pornography. The authorities were led out to this property in looking for the 2 girls, and they discovered all 7 bodies. They have said that there's no suspect at large right now, which means that they may believe the perpetrator of this crime was one of the dead out at the property. Authorities did not give many details, but one of the family members shared with the news that her 35-year-old daughter and 3 of her grandchildren were among the dead. She revealed that they had been found shot at various locations throughout the property. Brittany Brewer's father told Tulsa news outlets that she was staying with Jesse McFadden's family and that she was friends with their children. She was supposed to come home on Sunday, but never returned. If we learn more about what happened out on that ranch, we will definitely be sure to let you guys know. Our hearts go out to all those who lost loved ones in this tragedy. Anyone who's mourning this loss right now, we will be praying for your healing. And for our final story today, the Hollywood writers' strike. So out in Hollywood, for every one A-list actor, there are so many faceless, nameless, but highly talented individuals planning, producing, and promoting films and TV shows. And oftentimes, those figures just don't get their due. Initially, the writers were going to the big studios and asking for fair compensation, which they haven't been receiving, especially when it comes to residuals. Every time someone turns on their show and laughs at their jokes, they get mere pennies. Literally. They just want to be compensated properly. Respect. That is what they're looking for, really. So who all is striking? Well, there's about 11,500 writers who are estimated to be striking right now. They do have a union who put out the following statement, quote, "The board of directors of the WGA West and the Council of WGA East, acting upon the authority granted to them by their memberships, have voted unanimously to call a strike, effective 12:01 a.m. Tuesday, May 2nd. The decision was made following 6 weeks of negotiating with Netflix, Amazon, Apple, Disney, WDB, NBC Universal, Paramount Plus, and Sony under the umbrella of the AMPTP. Though our negotiating committee began this process intent on making a fair deal, the studio's responses have been wholly insufficient given the existential crisis writers are facing. Picketing will begin tomorrow afternoon. Hashtag WGA Strong, WGA Strike." End quote. So exactly what is going to be changing on our end as a consumer of these products? Initially, not much. That being said, comedy shows where scripts are typically written out more last minute would be the first place where we may see some setbacks. But studios have been compiling tons of scripts with basically a backlog. So they've been foreseeing this strike coming for a while now, and they've been preparing. So hopefully they can negotiate something with the writers' union that makes sense for everyone, and we can all move forward from this. And that is the news du jour. Today, I wanted to leave you guys with the quote, "Talent is God-given, be humble. Fame is man-given, be grateful. Conceit is self-given, be careful." If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you use to listen. A rate and review or shout out on social media would mean the world to us and help us be able to keep creating the news du jour. But the best way to support all of our work is to become a patron at www.patreon.com/sugarfreemedia. You can also follow us on social media under sugarfreemedia.co on Instagram and just sugarfreemedia, all one word, on TikTok. We appreciate you listening and look forward to telling you about the news again next time on News du Jour.
Broadcasting from